Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from. Happy Friday, October 4th. Super excited to have everybody back for another week of being able to connect around the STEM core, specifically on our internship development series. So before we get into, and today's topic obviously is Step Into My Shoes, exploring mentorship through internship panel. So this is really an opportunity for you all as STEM course students and practitioners to hear directly from the source of our great employer partners and university partners that host our STEM core interns. And you'll also have an opportunity to hear from a few of our STEM core interns from summer 24. So super excited for today's talk. And just to note that this is scheduled to be a little bit longer. We're going from 11 until 12:30, just because we know that there's a lot of rich information that our guests are going to be able to share today, and we want to make sure that we have time for Q&A from our audience as well. So thanks for being here. Can you skip to the next slide, Myra?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in terms of our agenda today, from growth sector's end, we just have a few program reminders. We'll be able to introduce our panelists today, going through a lot of like the burning questions that a lot of you have for our mentors and interns, and then we will be sure to leave some time at the end for Q&A from our audience. And apologies for those of you who do not know me, I didn't get to introduce myself. My name is Cheryl Martinez. I think at this point, most of you know me, but if you do not, or if you're pretty new to the program, Cheryl Martinez, I am the STEM program manager with Growth Sector. Growth Sector is a national nonprofit, and we specifically are working with each of your individual campuses around implementing the STEM core program. So you saw us a lot during your summer bridge programs. We work with you closely around internship opportunities and really just like the overall running of the STEM core program on your campus. So very excited to be here, and I'll allow Myra to introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Myra Perez, and I'm sure you guys have probably seen emails from me as well. I'm here. I'm usually the one working with students in their resumes, one-on-one check-ins during your internships in the summer, or running the workshops. And happy to be here with you guys today.
Great. Thanks, Myra. So for today's session, can we go to the next slide? I want to give our, or actually, I want to be able to outline some of the exciting things that we have coming up for you all this fall semester. This shouldn't look unfamiliar to you, but if you haven't seen this before, we'll be sure to send this out with the recording after today's session for all of our attendees. But on the left-hand side, this is Growth Sector's internship development series for all STEM core participants. So you've had the opportunity to participate in asynchronous resume and LinkedIn workshops. Today is our panel discussion. And on the 18th, we will be hosting a LinkedIn session. So just make sure that you are staying up to date, looking out for messages from us and from your support specialists in terms of upcoming events. And on the right-hand side is our employer speaker series. So last week we got to hear from Caltrans District 7 here in Los Angeles. Coming up next week, we'll get to hear from Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. And then on the 25th, TRC companies, followed by the Code Quest competition with Lockheed Martin on November 1st, which we're also really excited about. So make sure you talk to your support specialist or whoever told you about today's event about that opportunity. So just want to make sure everyone's aware of upcoming events that we have going on. All right, and without further ado, we will allow our mentors to start introducing themselves. We'll start off with Randy Pico, who has been a long time supporter of the STEM core program and doing all things all over the country to provide opportunities for students in STEM. So Randy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Good to see all those growth sector folks out there that make a lot of changes for everybody in a good way. My name is Randy Pico. I go by Randy on here, but you'll see Randolph up there. That's my proper birth name, but you can call me Randy. I'm Randy Pico. I am the Senior Superintendent for the Engineering Directorate at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Lawrence Livermore is a research facility where we get billions of dollars a year to do cutting edge science in the national interest. And I'm very happy to be here, Cheryl, and excited about answering all the questions I can in a good way about this lovely subject here for you. So thank you for having me.
Great. Thanks so much, Randy. And we also are joined on today's call by Dr. Charles Liu, who is also another longtime partner of the STEM Core program at Cal State LA. So Charles, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Cheryl. Thank you so much. I don't know how you found my old, younger pictures.
Myra dug deep.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to join this panel session and share experiences that since 2021, we had worked with the STEM core growth sector to develop the summer internships at the Cal State LA, California State University, Los Angeles area. So the summer program is called Summer Making Academic Prep and Research for Transfer Students, or in short, SMART internship program. I will share more later in the panel.
Great. Thanks so much, Charles. And I will just give a shout out to both Randy and Charles, obviously are on today's call as our mentor guests, but both have literally mentored and hosted a countless number of STEM core students, both in person, virtually, for years. So they are just have a wealth of information and were our clear picks for today's talk. So excited to have them both. And we are also joined by a few of our STEM core interns from this past summer 24. So Luis, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Luis Garcia. I did a summer internship at Caltrans this summer, and just here to share my experiences and hopefully answer any questions that any students have regarding the internship. And yeah, I'm excited to answer all these questions.
Thanks so much, Luis. And Luis is a student at Santa Ana College. So for those of you who are wondering, yes, Luis did drive up to Caltrans District 7 in Los Angeles throughout the summer and was super committed.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, and Luis, what's your major?
It's part of the experience. I'm a civil engineer major. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Luis.
Rihanna's here too.
Hi, Rihanna. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to unmute and introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rihanna Santabang. I was previously a computer science major at East Los Angeles College for about 3 years, and then I transferred to where I am now, UCI, also a computer science major. So last summer, I interned at the National Renewable Energy Lab as my second STEM core internship. My first STEM core internship was with the SMART program at Cal State LA. So I'm really happy to be here to share my experiences with the program.
Yay. We got a two-timer here, y'all. Thanks so much, Rihanna. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and jump into questions. So for our audience, feel free to, you can add questions directly to the chat, and we will be leaving time at the end for follow-up questions if you want to, as an audience member, unmute yourself and ask questions directly to our panelists. So Myra and I put together a list of questions. So we're just going to go through and ask our guests. So to start with Charles and Randy, maybe can you tell us a little bit about your role, your respective roles, and how you work with interns directly?
Sure. I will start, Randy. Okay, so since 2021, this is already 4 consecutive summers when we host the internship program. So STEM core growth sector helped us to outreach to community colleges and also help interviewing students and then make recommendations to us. Then there will be another round of interview. Most likely it's basically just find out if the students are interested in the internship that we offer. So the information section, the sessions that we provide, the detailed technical background, expectations in the STEM related disciplines. So for the past 4 years within the SMART internship program, I'm the director of the program and also the chair of electrical and computer engineering department at Cal State LA. So we have worked with 56 SMART interns from community colleges all around the country, not localized in the California area, Southern California area. So the disciplines span from the engineering disciplines, computer science, some science majors as well. There's limited background or prerequisite knowledge required. So mainly it's a very hands-on experience during summertime, and students can work together, making use of the current technologies and the facilities at Cal State to strengthen their background in a number of different disciplines. So we provide workshops, plenary workshops for all interns together. And then based on the intern's background and interested major, we just break down the group into smaller ones, individuals to work with our faculty advisor. So the interns had the chance to get exposure within their research labs and also start working with our graduate students so you can get a flavor what research is about in the engineering discipline lab experiences. So I would pause here, but later I would love to share more experiences.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Charles. Randy?
Sure. So let me tell you a little bit about my role and how I work with interns. So my role at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, which again I said is a large research facility, we do big science. I have the honor and pleasure of being the senior superintendent in the engineering directorate, which is about 1,200 people that I get to in some way functionally lead in that role. But what I mean by that is we do have summer interns. We're a kind of place that has over 1,000 interns during a year. And in the summer, in my area in particular, for students that are at different levels of their academia, we bring in students very competitive, no doubt about it. And growth sector has always done a fine job of pipelining people into opportunities like that. So through managing that, I do care about the workforce and the pipeline that would feed a national laboratory, not only for what we do at the lab, but what our allied companies do to help support the big science that we do. So we very much want a summer intern's role to be very contextualized to what they might be doing in a job in the future. But I do want the most important thing about my role is to help try to ensure that the internships experience and the mentees are very enriching for both parties so that you can come in research, no two people are doing the same thing. So you can come in and learn your craft. If you were in mechanical engineering, there's many different pathways to go, electrical, many different pathways, as in all fields. And we want to work hard to help the individual match up with their pathways. And sometimes we get that information from you. We might get it from your student sports specialist or your staff. And so that's my role, is to really help try to ensure that those pathways occur, that opportunities are there, and that in the end, hopefully the mentor and the mentee all have enriching experiences in engineering fields.
Great.
Now, Cheryl, it's not only engineering fields. What I mean, I want to correct myself. The places like the laboratory and large companies, yes, STEM is the driver for what I do, but I want you to know these national laboratories and many companies have a lot of other fields associated with engineering that, if you were in business but had an engineering bend, you might be able to help with procurement or many things in the engineering endeavors. So thank you, Cheryl, for the extra time.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Randy. And I would just shout Randy out for, like, he talked about facilitating relationships between like mentors and interns. But Randy is like known to be like the creator of internships across the lab, and really advocating for opportunities based on student interest, or like mentors who he knows would be really good connections for our students and for our interns. So I just want to put that out there, that Randy has definitely been a champion for getting students connected.
Love it. Now switching to our interns, I'm going to switch it up a little. I'm going to jump to question 3 for our interns, and starting with Luis, if you could tell us how you prepared for your internship that you had this past summer.
Yeah, so
You know what, Luis? For some reason, we hear like a lot of static, or was that just me?
Yeah, it was everybody. I just muted Luis just in case.
No, we heard it too.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it sounded very staticky. Let's see.
Yeah,
can
it's
you
gone
guys hear me
now.
now?
Yep.
Okay,
There we go.
perfect. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, so like I was saying, I did have an interview with my supervisor prior to the internship, and I did make sure to ask him like, hey, like, what can I do to prepare for this? Because I do tend to be a little bit, I guess, specific. I don't want to ever go to a situation and not be prepared, you know, because I was like, it's my first internship and I don't know what exactly I need to prepare for. So he made it pretty simple. He said, you know, just have a great attitude and come here to learn and be open to learning about a little bit of everything. And so I know that to me that didn't really satisfy my question, because I was like, well, I don't want to go in there and then I'm not gonna, you know, be prepared, and like what if like I'm not ready for this or that. And so besides just being ready, having the right dress attire, you know, having the clothes to wear, knowing how long it's going to take to get there, all the logistics did help me out. So I didn't have to ask these questions later on. And besides that, just having the skills to be able to communicate, that helped me a lot. Whenever I had any questions, I wasn't afraid to ask. And so just being overall just well-rounded, it helped me a lot. Just being able to communicate helped me prepare for this internship.
Thank you so much, Luis.
And I hear Luis prepared, but also like proactive as well.
Yes.
I think
Right,
is like a
right,
big key to
definitely.
that. And I
Yes,
think that's something that
definitely.
I hear from a lot of our interns who've been successful, is that they're going to their mentors and like asking questions like, how can I help, or like, what can I do? So that shows a lot about before you started, even that you knew you were going to be a successful intern. So just putting it out there.
Right, right. Definitely, I agree.
And just to highlight, this was your first internship, right, Luis?
Yes, definitely my first internship. I never done an internship before. I didn't know how or what it was about. And so, yeah, it's first one, and honestly, it was the best experience I've ever had.
Yay, it's great to hear. Thanks so much for sharing. Rihanna, how about you?
So for my internship, before I started, I had 2 interviews with my manager and my mentor. In the first interview, my manager basically explained the role of the department in the national laboratory, which was computational science, visualizing scientific data for both scientists and their partners in the industry. So she basically went over the core skills, but for what I needed was basically fundamental like programming knowledge in Python and more technical knowledge in data analysis and visualization using Python. So my position was sort of unique in that it was inside of scientific visualization, which is not covered in community colleges. So when I talked to both my manager and my mentor, they did not have very like specific expectations for the intern, but just to have more general knowledge outside this specialized field, like programming, software design, and more like soft skills like communication, critical thinking, and project planning. So I also prepared, sorry. So also prepared for an internship with some like personal projects to build those more technical and soft skills. And I also participated in tutoring for a programming class the spring before my internship to pin down more of the fundamental programming knowledge in C++.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Rihanna. It definitely sounds like the employer partners that we work with, while I think it's good that our interns definitely take this all very serious and you ask questions and you want to know how to best prepare, it's also nice to know on the flip side that our employers are very much understanding that you guys are, still within maybe your first or second year of college, and there's that willingness to teach you and maybe not put too much pressure in the sense of you need to know specifically these exact skills. They're willing to be foster like an environment of where you're going to learn and they're going to teach you. And so that's really nice to hear from both sides that they're very much willing, as long as you have a great attitude, to be able to join in on your internship experience.
Now, from our mentor side, since Randy and Charles, you both have had experience of working with a number of STEM core interns, non-STEM core interns over the years, from your perspective, what makes a successful intern?
Right. Apparently being open-minded, as Louis and Rihanna mentioned, being proactive, and communications critical. Don't be shy, especially for the internship. Of course, in the beginning, we're gonna describe what would be the minimum requirement and suggested preparation ahead of time, but still the faculty advisors, the peer mentors, they understand. They've gone through the same process as the STEM students previously. So it is critical to develop yourself as a successful intern if you have a learning attitude. That's a very critical. So during the 3-month period of time of the internship, apparently you are giving a lot of exposures of different current technologies. At least that's what we do at CSULA. So we would definitely we would just adjust the speed of the learning curve based on the students' demand, based on the students' preparation. Communication with the TA, with the faculty advisor, constantly share thoughts. And we've experienced a lot of exciting moments when the interns actually being very creative and they provide something that is beyond our expectation. Never be hesitant to suggest something, even if eventually if it is not successful. That's typical. That's we learn from those mistakes. We learn from failures. That's very essential experience for engineering, computer science, or other STEM field disciplines. So teamwork is also important, that you participate and play a role within the team. To be a leader, that's one role. To be a follower, that's another, right? So it's not necessary everyone's leading the team, but collaborating within the team, work together, and share thoughts, share even difficulties, challenges that you experience. So those are very important for you to enjoy the 3-month experience during the internship and being developed for the future major. Because definitely, for example, as a director of the program, I definitely look into your background and look into your potential interest. Of course, nowadays in the STEM field, in engineering discipline, is very cross-disciplinary. So in other words, if your major is computer science, you need to know the hardware side of that. If you're a mechanical engineer, you need to know probably the controller side of that. So, not necessary that you just focus on programming. You have to interface with other components of the project. So those are very, very basic skills that you can develop within the internship. And eventually, when you go to the 4-year university or later being employed in industry, this type of exercise is going to be constant as a lifelong learning attitude. That's very important.
Awesome. I love that, Charles. I think that's a piece of advice, and I love to hear students hear that directly from the source, which is being able to take in, it might not be exactly your major, like your first internship might not be exactly like what you see yourself retiring in, but being able to put yourself out there, which, yeah, the SMART internship, for those of you who are thinking about doing like the code quest and like knowing that like you don't have that much experience in Python, this is how you get the experience, right? To be able to add like another bullet on your resume or to the exposure piece. So love to hear that part. Randy, your thoughts on a successful intern?
A successful intern. What makes us so first off, a successful intern for me, it may surprise everybody. It's not about your technical contributions during your internship. That's, of course, but it's about the feeling the individual has who's participated in those 8 to 10 to 12 weeks. That you should come in there, get to see what the work environment may look like, get to understand the customs and traditions of the company you're going to go work for, get to see what it's like in that corporate environment or that government environment, whatever that internship involves, to see how you feel about it. Because I want people to just really go into that and come out and people say this sense of belonging, like I belong, I can do this. To that moment when you're studying a field that you really don't know much about, it might be business, it might be mechanical, electrical engineering or some field. Rihanna said something that is very important. Of course, when you get into a field, you want to know project management, you want to know critical thinking skills, you want to know all those things. They will carry you a long way, your public speaking skills. Absolutely what she said was correct. But in addition to that, when you come out of that first internship, you want a sense of belonging, like I can do this, to carry you on to your academic journey so that this keyword comes to play all the time for me. It's a contextualization of what you've learned in school and how you're going to apply that to the job and workforce. And it might be the hard skills of technical, and it might be the soft skills of writing, communication, and how you blend that into a job, because it's not about a job, it's about a career. And so a successful internship launches you into that next phase of your growth and helps us as well in mentoring that and honing our leadership skills for individuals like yourself starting those careers. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks, Randy.
I love that. Jumping back to number 2 for our interns, how did your coursework help you during your internship, and what areas do you think students should focus on more? Obviously, Luis and Rihanna, you guys are both different majors. So I think it'll be nice to kind of hear. I know, Rihanna, you kind of already spoke a little bit about preparing with some projects that you were already working on to kind of really get you, I guess, ready for your internship. But yeah, can you expand a little more on how you think your coursework helped you during your internship?
Okay. So obviously as a CS major, I'm expected to make programs, right? But but more than that, I'm also expected to make pieces of software, right? So that comes from a big integration of many skills, not only just knowledge of coding and like the concepts and the syntax, but also just the concepts of software design and your ability to assess the problem in your problem solving and iteration when you're prototyping and creating your project. So just to explain what I did in my internship, I was working in the computational science to basically make a generative program that could basically convert text into a scientific visualization. So I was responsible for structuring and building this project from the ground up. So obviously my background, my coursework in these programming courses, especially in C++, object-oriented programming and data structures and algorithms, they were immensely helpful for like pushing me along and allowing me to gain progress in exploring this project through code. But I would say that shouldn't solely focus on those technical skills such as coding. Rather, you should just focus on the grand scheme of problem solving, like problem solving in your English literature class, how you lay out your essay and what is your argument and your reasoning to support that argument. And your physics class, understanding the basic method, the methodology for solving a specific problem with these quantities and these events inside of the problem using like pattern recognition. So I would say that if you would like to make the most of your time at ELAC, would be to focus on your critical thinking and resourcefulness throughout all of your courses, because they all contribute to that. And later on, that would allow you to draw more inspiration and creativity when you're out on the field solving problems.
That's a great response. Thank you so much, Rihanna. I think that was great advice to really hone in on those critical thinking skills, because I mean, I'm sure that even, engineers with PhDs and everything have, moments where they're stuck on something, and you may know how to create a code, or you may know the what is it, the equation to solve a certain problem, but sometimes it's beyond that, right? It's that critical thinking tools that we've built that really kind of help people solve problems, or get creative in devising different ways to come up with a solution. So I think that's very, very great advice. Thank you so much. Luis, how about you? How did your coursework help you during your internship, and what areas do you think that students should focus on more?
Yeah, so it's funny because I agree on some things that Brianna said. Like um, the coursework that I would recommend for my specific internship, I worked in the Office of Project and Special Studies. So I know when you think of civil engineering, you think of AutoCAD designing, but the department that I was in, we were more in charge of building up the project. So a lot of technical writing goes into play. So I would say for my internship, like English, composition, learning how to write technical reports, and also understanding how to read technical reports, following the step-by-steps would really help a student in my internship that I did. Just being able to read, documents and kind of dissect and find the problem that needs to be solved, and just being able to communicate with the other units within the organization, that would help a lot. So I was thinking of AutoCAD. I know a lot of the design team does it, but it does help to have AutoCAD under your belt in case you do need to do some design. Fortunately, we didn't do any of it, but I know the design team that's all they did. So if you could have that under your belt and go into design, I think you would have like an enormous advantage over someone that didn't have AutoCAD under their belt. And so just technical writing, understanding technical reports, and being able to write technical reports as well would help a lot.
As my dad always says, communication is key, right? In any kind of setting.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter sometimes. You may know how to solve something, but being able to share that information and explain it to maybe the team that you're working on, right? Whether that be through written form or verbally, definitely communication, I think, is a key in all internships in your career and everything. So thank you so much for kind of pointing that out. Wait, Brianna, did you want to say something? Oh, sorry, I thought you raised your hand there, but okay. Thank you so much, Luis, for sharing that.
I was just gonna note that the question was specifically around like coursework, but I want like our STEM course students like to keep in mind as well that this can be like when we're talking about specific skills, like these can be skills that you hone in on from like a project that you did during your summer bridge, the summer bridge program. This can be a skill that you learned through like our LA City students are currently participating in like a 2-week workshop, an electrical engineering workshop through Cal State LA. This could be emphasizing your experience and exposure to Python through participating in the STEM core Lockheed Martin Code Quest that's coming up on November 1st, right? So just like kind of think about these moments. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a semester long course, but just like opportunities that you have for exposure as well is just something I wanted to highlight. For Randy and Charles, I'm going to combine the two questions just in terms of what you think, from what you've seen, what can students be doing now to prepare, but then also like helpful skills that students can come in with when they're applying for internships. And we know like for our students, they will be applying for STEM core interns at the end, internships at the end, starting at the end of this month, right? So yeah, from your experience, if you could share, that'd be great.
Randy, you want to go first?
Sure. So the journey of your preparing for your internship is already started. It started now. Every time you go to a class, every time you have an opportunity to work with the community, every time you have an opportunity to work with, you know, when I mean the community, greater community, you have an opportunity to volunteer someplace. You have an opportunity to speak, to work with the community. You have an opportunity to engage in that lab class. You have an opportunity to. Those are all enriching experiences for yourself, because when you get to an internship, people will tell you this a lot. It's communication is key. An internship is really like a multi-week interview. Really, you can think of it that way as well. I can tell you, when Luis was there and Rihanna were there, even though they're being mentored there by somebody, they're looking at him for long term, right? It's an investment the company's making. They're looking at Luis, and hopefully they recognize Luis is so bright and so gifted. He may not want to come there. He may want to go somewhere else. He's looking at options. He's keeping it there. And same with Rihanna. So preparing yourself begins now. It's always about putting tools in your toolbox and stepping out there. You know, you start up a car in the morning, maybe you take a minute, you watch YouTube or something on what makes that engine really work. You know, TED Talks, all these, it's amazing the amount of opportunities one has on the internet to put tools in their toolbox to learn about stuff. Because when you go to a company, you may want to do some homework and know a little bit about, if you're going to go work for a company for 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks, isn't it okay to spend 30 minutes on a YouTube videos and look at what that company does, what they're about, what they're founded by, what their goals and values are? My goodness, what happens if Louise went to work for Caltrans and finds out that, you know, it just didn't float his boat at all. He didn't really want to go Caltrans because they had done something in his community he wasn't happy with, you know. So you want to know about these companies you can to try to match that up. Yes, and life is always about putting tools in your toolbox so that when you have to pull that tool out to use it, it's there for you. And it's not the first time, you know, it's not the first time you get asked to speak about it. So maybe, you know, it's not the first time. People ask me what my best courses were, me growing up with all the degrees and all the learning I had. Critical thinking was a very powerful course for me. Public speaking was a second one. And then the third one for me is motivation leadership, which certainly helps me in managing large workforces. So it begins today. It begins yesterday. You know, every time Cheryl has a meeting and gives you some kind of an engagement opportunity, like these talks you're hearing here, and Myra and all these folks, put those in your toolbox. Go to as many you have an opportunity to. It pays off in ways you can't even imagine until it pays off, right, Luis? Right? It pays off. Thank you. So I'll pass on now, but thank you.
Right. How to prepare yourself. Apparently, I believe you're still going through the curriculum in your community college. In the STEM field, definitely there will be some math, maybe some chemistry, some physics. Those are still the fundamental skills that you want to develop. But as an educator, as the internship provider, I would highly suggest you to relate all of these to your daily lives. Right. So, for example, in our summer internship, we make use of the current tool, which is called machine learning. That is one of the artificial intelligence methods that will basically be able to, for example, differentiate a cat from a dog. And also, for example, you can detect different traffic signals. So, for example, we had a experiment previously with our students, and through the machine learning program, then one student's driving the car, the other student's holding a laptop with the camera on top, and then they're just driving on the street and recognizing the stop sign, of course, right? So it shows it's experiments, right? So they want to see if they can correctly detect the stop sign. And all of a sudden, the student report to me, the AI, the machine learning algorithm actually wrongly detect the target sign to be a stop sign. That's fun, right? That's to make your daily life fun related to your field in STEM field, right? So that was one example. The other example of machine learning, for example, is to track faces, right? Which is used right now on your cell phone. You can easily make use of that. That's machine learning itself. So for example, you're pointing on different people, and then it's gonna track, for example, in the wedding, the focus definitely on the bride, right? So once the face is recognized, and then the photographer is gonna just keep the camera and focus on the bride. Right? That's the daily exercise related to what you learn, and you feel proud of yourself, regardless if it is electrical, mechanical, computer science, chemical engineering, biomedical. There are all those kind of applications that affect people's life. And then you realize how important they are. It's not just being anxious about your math course, right? It's going to be paid off eventually, as Randy mentioned, right? So just you need to enjoy the experience to make it successful, and then you will be proactive, and then you will be prepared. Of course, the curriculum preparation is important. But just like this afternoon, in 15 minutes, the bus is coming over to us. The LA City College is coming to us. So I think STEM Core prepare all these kind of activities for you. So they come over to see the electric vehicle, the battery design of the electric vehicle. Does that affect your daily life? Yes, right? So people are coming to see the civil structures, and also for example, the vibration, the station which simulate, for example, different degrees of earthquake in Southern California. That's the forbidden word, earthquake, because we're living in the space in the area that has a lot of earthquake. There are a lot of faults here, right? So you can imagine why we want to have those disciplines in engineering, in computer science, or other STEM fields, because those are all current, and they're affecting our daily lives. So eventually you will see what you learn is important, and you will have fun of it.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Charles. That was awesome. And on the flip, for interns, I'm going to combine the first and last question on this slide. What was the biggest challenge you faced during your internship? And with that, well, actually, before that, sorry, what was your biggest fear when considering applying for your internship? And then what was maybe the biggest challenge that you actually faced during the internship and how you overcame it? Let's start with Luis.
So my biggest fear when considering applying was just basically not being, I guess, good enough or ready, or like not having the resume that would like stand out and set me aside from everybody else. I felt a little, just I don't know, like maybe I didn't have enough coursework or I didn't have enough projects. Just because of the way I am, I tend to overthink things and I want to be a perfectionist, and so that was the biggest fear I had, was just applying and not getting it, I guess, because I didn't have enough this or that. And so, because you see a lot of these things about the resumes online and how to make it good and how do you stand out. And so that was my biggest fear. And the biggest fear before starting my internship was just not being qualified enough. Just being like, hey, like I've never done anything civil engineering related, or and so what am I going to do, or how's my day to day going to be? Those were my biggest fears. But at the end of it, I mean, just applying for it and just going for it and having the confidence to put yourself out there and show them who you are, and knowing that, you are uh, good enough for an internship, and that, just having a goal and doing it is the most important thing, is just taking action to overcome this fear that I had.
I love that. And actually, kind of, I remember specifically, I believe I worked with you on your resume, right?
Right.
And I do remember talking to you, and you're like, man, I don't have, certain courses under my belt or certain skills under my belt. But when we started talking about what you do for a living, like, in your workspace and everything, we pulled out all these awesome, I think, skills that you have, just as a natural leader, being responsible. The fact that I think I forgot if it's like a shift lead or manager or supervisor. I forgot what it was. But the responsibility that comes with that, right? That your employer sees that you're responsible enough to be able to have that position at your age and everything. And so pulling all those other skills that I thought were super important that you weren't necessarily looking at, that I thought was going to make you a great intern, and intern ended up working out that way. So that's great. I'm happy that even though you were had that fear of, I don't know if I'm prepared enough, I don't know if I have the skills that they're looking for, all your other everything else that makes Luis came into play, and again made you just a great intern. So with that, what was the biggest challenge you faced while you were at Caltrans, and how did you overcome it?
Honestly, the internship for me, my personal experience, it was smooth. It was everything that I expected and more. So the only thing that I could honestly say that challenged me was just transportation. Obviously, I live in Orange County. I live in Huntington Beach, and my internship was in LA, downtown LA. So just that the traffic was pretty much my biggest challenge. But thankfully, my supervisor was very accommodating. He did understand. I mean, he lived in, I believe, Buena Park as well. So, but he was able to take the train from there to downtown LA. I wasn't able to because we don't have one near me. But he understood that, and so he was very accommodating to my schedule. There would be days where, he would allow me to leave a little earlier, finish the work at home, to avoid all the traffic that's pretty much on a daily basis. But besides that, that was probably the most difficult challenge. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like it was pretty small. I mean, everything was smooth. Again, I try to prepare myself as much as possible, making sure I had the parking pass, all those little things, those little details that you don't want to be getting there and, you don't have this, you don't have that, your badge, making sure you have your badge. Those little things add up and just make your day easier on a day-to-day basis. And so for me, I always had like a checklist, I made sure I had this, I had that, just prior to my day, so that I could have a smooth day and focus on all like the technical aspects, the projects, and just focus on all that and give my full attention to those things.
I love that checklist idea. Thanks so much, Luis. All right, Rihanna, how about you? What was your biggest fear when applying, and then the biggest challenge you faced during your internship?
I would say that the biggest fear I had was like jumping into a national laboratory from a community college is not just being like socially accepted or liked. I was afraid of somehow being like disappointing or like embarrassing myself with other people because I don't know this piece of knowledge or something. I would say like something done basically, or would not be able to like deliver these results according to their exact expectations, and then had to just like work to like recover from that. So I would say that it was kind of like ungranted in the end, because I would say that the work culture at Annual was very nice and opening, although I did see some community college students there. There was quite a bit of actually grad students there, which I feel like more grown-up versions of undergrads like me. So they still accepted me, even though I'm not quite a third year, fourth year upperclassman in my undergrad, right? And I was able to communicate well with my mentor and establish like more personal connections with him according to our interest. And also with my manager, another person at the laboratory. So I was very much allowed to be myself. I did not have to put on like a professional persona. And I would argue that it's like more beneficial to just be yourself, and that people see you and see the positive traits that you can bring to your workplace and outside. So just talking a little bit more about like networking there, I was able to network with my mentor and one other person there. So I will use my second contact there, hopefully to get my next internship right here at my university since I left STEM Corps. And since I also networked with the grad students there, I can ask them for advice in the future, right? Because I plan to continue onto that path in grad school and research, hopefully. So I would say that the biggest challenge was definitely the amount of information I was to handle, because I very much had like general knowledge about programming, right? But how would I implement that in this niche area, which is scientific visualization? So it's very interdisciplinary, because it also incorporates domain knowledge, right, of what you're visualizing. So my mentor was visualizing wind turbines, right? So that would incorporate some like engineering, fluid dynamics, vector calculus, etc. And also, of course, you need the programming knowledge to build up these programs. And you would also need a more artistic skills to actually convey this data beautifully and effectively. So there's a lot of things happening at NREL, right? So where I was working, actually, I was working right next to the visualization lab, where they hold visualizations and allow scientists and industry partners to come in and look at it. And during these times, I'll be listening to the tour and my mentor kind of like repeating the same things over and over again. But that gave me like more things to think about. And on top of that, I was working on my own project and also reading papers and watching YouTube videos related to my project as references. So I had like a lot of layers of information going on at the same time, involving like people, laboratory events, and also my own personal tasks and brainstorming sessions where I had to hold my own project. So there was a lot of information synthesis that had to occur there so that I could, properly handle my work in the project, while also participate in the events that happen outside of me and attend these different meetings that they held, presenting their visualizations and stuff. So it was very overwhelming, I would say, because of course I'm like on the ship directing myself for a project that I have not created of the same scale so far. But I was able to handle it through self-study and a lot of like proactivity, just like reaching out to people to get feedback on my ideas. So I reached out to my mentor, to the other employee, to my friends at the laboratory, and I was able to feel that I have definitely gained something from these experiences and have gained more confidence for my decision making.
Wow, definitely sounds like information overload, right? And intense information. I probably would have been very intimidated as well, but it sounds like you handled it beautifully, Rihanna.
And use your resources. I think that was key. Rihanna, I was just going to ask one additional question. I'm wondering if a challenge or fear for you was relocating this summer. I don't know
Too.
what that was like for you, if you can share with our listeners, just being from California and then doing your internship out of state.
Yeah. So I definitely had to like plan weeks in advance just to understand what I would bring. And in terms of housing, I had to get that done months before that, just because of the competitive housing in the Denver area and in the Golden area. It's like hard to get something last minute. So I would advise searching for housing as soon as possible. So I got my housing through Airbnb as short-term housing for 2 months. I believe that there are possibly apartments that do accept a 2 month lease, but I think that's very unlikely. Just seeing the options I went through, they usually have like a 6 month or greater lease. So for short-term housing, I would definitely advise looking for like rental options, and hopefully they give you a monthly rate, if not a daily rate for that. In terms of just like travel, I went to Denver the weekend before so I can get myself situated at my rental. So it went pretty smoothly just because of my planning. I was able to get all my amenities, and because of the transportation in Denver, it was well supported. I was able to just like take the bus to Admiral for like 25 minutes and get around in my local area through bus also. And also was able to reach out to another intern who's a grad student. I was able to go grocery shopping with him because he had a car. So if you do go to someplace outside of your state and you don't really have like transportation, definitely look into like public and also private with your friends to see if they could help you out. I would say.
Out of curiosity, Rihanna, had you ever done anything like internship wise, or I mean just school related outside the state, or was this your first time ever?
Yeah, it's my first time ever. It's my first time flying to and from all by myself.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Wow.
it was not too bad because my parents helped me explain like the process for it and stuff.
Oh,
Even if you get lost, I say people tend to be helpful and they will like tell you where to go and stuff in case you panic like I did a bit at the Denver airport. If you haven't been there, it's huge. So
you know what, Rihanna? I give you major props. My growth sector team knows I'm an anxious basket case when it comes to traveling and everything and going places by myself. So, I mean, that's awesome. I know that would probably be a personal challenge for me. So, major props to you for, just taking this opportunity on, knowing that it's going to be super beneficial to you and doing what you had to do to get there and get yourself situated and just have a great time. So that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah. And I was really happy to hear Rihanna kind of like dovetail into like our next topic, which is around like networking. And Rihanna talked a little bit about networking with her mentor and other people at the lab. From Randy and Charles, I'm curious, for a lot of our students, they will often say, like, I don't know anybody in the field. I don't know who to talk to. Like we have sessions around networking, but they're like, who do I network with? So from your perspective, what is the best way for students to network with professionals in the field, especially if they don't have a family member, a cousin, a neighbor who's an engineer? Like, where do you start? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I can give some comments on this. It's just I will call these nuggets of wisdom from past experiences. So again, when Rihanna went to one of the world's foremost in renewable energy, and so she has an opportunity to go there. She doesn't know anybody there, but when she's there, I'm going to guess you have opportunities to go to seminars, enrichment courses, and hear other people talk about the field. And you get opportunity for tours of different facilities on site. And taking, and you would if you were at the Lawrence Summer Lab or many of the national labs, as an example, many of the companies. So it's a good opportunity to do that. And in that flow, you're meeting others with like technology, mentoring. You might get invited to social events that are sponsored by the companies. That's good. If you're at a school and companies come by and give visits and talks and seminars, those are very, very good experiences. I tend to use a lot of words when I'm talking about this subject, like contextualization, which brings that into the classroom. Enrichment, where you can go and be enriched by what others are doing to interest you. Those are all important opportunities for you to kind of see other people. For me, I'm here right now at the American Indian Science and Engineering Society conference, where there's thousands of American Indians, of which there's like less than 1% in the country. But we convene here to kind of talk and have ideas of science around it. There's opportunities like that for you, whatever environments you're from or backgrounds. Society for Women Engineers, there's all these professional societies that help you mentor and be supported by one another. The very fact that you're in some kind of growth sector or some kind of cohort program help you in that way as well. And again, I go back to opportunities. But those are some of the ideas I would recommend. And yes, it is key. Networking is very important. I will tell you a 2-second story. I was at Rihanna's facility where she was at a year ago on a tour of the Flatiron facility, Rihanna. And I was over there and I met somebody casually. And then I'm up in Alaska for some meetings last week. And do you know that person I met at NREL, who I met casually, turns out to be the $100 million budget person up in Alaska for a project. And he knew me from a tour at NREL. And you know how much credibility that gets me really fast in the business of high stakes, high, consequence workforce development stuff. And so everything matters, right? And how you carry yourself in those opportunities is important. That's the presence. So thank you again, Cheryl, for the opportunity to speak on this.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Randy's mentioned. Even if you're just starting in the career related to the STEM field, there are plenty of opportunities that you can get some exposures to the society, the professional community. There are those conferences that is not research oriented, but more is educational or providing the professionalism that the professional development related experiences. Of course, a lot of our students, for example, would be able to learn. Well, at CSULA, a lot of our students are the first generation coming to the higher education. So a lot of resources can be leveraged to prepare for the student to be prepared in the field, even though there's no help or limited help they could receive from their families. So though that way you will be able to, the students would be able to participate in the professional community development. There are student clubs, students of women engineers. There's the Hispanic student or professional organizations, and in different disciplines, there's the American Society of Civil Engineering, Mechanical Engineering, or IEEE, the Institution of the Electrical and Electronics Engineering, computer science. Likewise, they're the professional societies. So the resource is there, just depending on how you leverage, how you make use of the resource, right? So communicating, for example, during the SMART internship, we've tried a couple times to ask interns to interview our alumni who are currently in the graduate program, one in PhD program, the other one is working in industry. So that is the way you learn the pathway you're going through, right? Because those alumni just going through the same way that, but it's just ahead of you. So you can learn all of these, and then you feel like, oh, it's not like I'm alone. I'm doing this all alone. No, for engineering disciplines or in a broader way, when we talk about STEM, it's always just teamwork. You need to work with your coworkers, you need to work with your fellow peer cohorts. So these will be all the just explore the resources and communicate with your faculty, communicate with Cheryl. Cheryl can share with you all the resources, and we are partners, and we all are here to help out.
Yeah. Myra and Cheryl, can I comment on something else? Can I add?
Please, yes.
I can't help but think about what Lewis said earlier, and it's the reality. The toughest part of your day in today's environment for many of the early career, meaning people starting new jobs of all types, is transportation to work. It's as simple as that. Some jobs require you to be there at work every day. When you get there, it's good. It's okay to ask coworkers, environment, assets, the group, how did they get here from the area that you might live in? You may really surprise you, and there may be a carpool or a shuttle bus or some form of transportation that you hadn't thought of in your world, right? In your world. And like he said, a train. There could be something like that, because when you're early career or starting out in, maybe an internship or your first job, your salary, your wage, your power of buying is going to be less, and more of your spending and your roughness might be getting to work every day. But hopefully, you're going to school not to get a job, and we think of it that way, but to have a career. And as you grow in your career, you'll become hopefully again more financially growing from that. And it may allow you to live closer or figure out that transportation thing where it's not as hard, because the reality of it is, for many early careers, getting to work, or as Rihanna said, finding a place to live close enough when you don't have a car on an internship can be the most challenging part of the whole experience. Right? And so, yes, that's the reality of it. And it's okay to ask others for help, advice on how to overcome that challenge. So
Thanks for sharing that, Randy. I just wanted to add on in regards to the networking piece. I think the advice that both of you gave exactly like spot on. But I also want to note for our participants here that every opportunity that you have, like whether it's like through a STEM core workshop or a guest speaker, if somebody is on, like a Randy or a Charles is on a call and they're speaking to you and you're like, I like what they're saying, this sounds really interesting. There, ask for an email, connect on LinkedIn. If you're at on campus, like grab a business card. Just putting yourself out there speaks volumes. And I would hear this when I was a student, and I was like a super shy like student to approach a mentor also. But now in hindsight, I'm like, wow, I see like the students who like take the extra step to like ask a question, to follow up on LinkedIn, to say like, hey, can we go for a cup of coffee? Like, I'd like to learn more about you or your process. To just kind of consider that, because I think through this program, you're getting a lot of opportunities to connect with the right people. So utilizing those opportunities to try to leverage and learn is important as well.
Yeah, sure. Can I add something real quick? Yeah, so it's funny you say that. I know last year you did the Caltrans the interview series, and Anthony was on there, and this is before I even applied or anything. And after that, I know he included his email address. It was like real quick, so
He did, yeah.
did it real quick, and it came in handy because I had a school project. One of my engineering 100 classes was an introduction to engineering. One of our last project was to reach out to a engineering firm and ask someone that does like the interviewing process and choose a specific job posting that you would want and interview the interviewer about it. And I managed to reach out to Anthony, and he was so helpful, and he actually, helped me with this interview. And so I had already prior like a connection with him. So then now that I joined Caltrans, I already had like a foot in the door, and he recognized me. And so, taking, like you said, taking advantage of these meetings, helps a lot, and just being proactive. And like you, I was very nervous about this project, because I was like, man, like I didn't think this was going to be in an engineering class, it's like that, asking, reaching out, and it's like, hey, I have this, can you help me out? And it worked out. I did that twice already. And so like it really does help out to just reach out and see if they were able to help. Most of the time they're very helpful.
Yeah, no, I love that story. And I think keeping in mind that like nobody wants to help like me or Myra, because we're in the field, like people do, but you know what I'm saying. But everybody wants to connect with students. They want to help you. They want to talk about their careers or their company, or so take advantage, like while you're a student, like collect all the information. Randy so graciously just put his email address in the chat, so I hope everybody's copying that down. But like use your experience and like where you're at now to leverage as much information as you can.
And I just want to put a quick plug in for our upcoming workshop later this month. I believe, what day is it again, Cheryl?
The 18th.
Yeah, the 18th for LinkedIn. If you didn't attend the one that we had last year, I highly recommend you attend it this year. It dives deeper into networking and LinkedIn and everything, but our speaker does a really great job. If you're still on the fence of like, how do I even approach someone to talk to them, when I'm at an internship, or, to learn more about the company, or, to get feedback, I highly, highly suggest that you attend that workshop. It's going to give you some great tools and methods on how to go about that. So definitely make sure you mark it on your calendar. But thanks so much for sharing this information, everyone. This has been really great. Jumping on, because I know our time is running very, very short now. Oh, sorry, go for it, Charles. Oh, you're on mute.
Your sound is out, Charles.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Here it is. So I'm gonna go down to welcome the LACC tour. They're coming to us today, but just like this event, there will be plenty of others. So you could get familiar with the operations, the functions, the different tasks that students are working on. So it's never too early to find out. All right. So I'm glad that I can participate and contribute to share thoughts. But I'm sorry that I have to step down. I have to leave for now.
Just giving yourself to more STEM core students.
All right.
Thanks so much for your time, Charles.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Bye.
you.
Bye.
I also have to go because I'm gonna go meet Charles at
Yeah,
Cal
no, go ahead. We're recording today's session, so if you have to jump
Okay.
off, it's totally fine. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for everybody for the opportunity to be here, because it's really nice to hear all the interns and mentors talk about their experiences and how like each one of you guys helps each other. Because I feel like as a student that is in a completely new field, it's super scary. Like everything is so new, and we're like, we need help. We're like little toddlers running around, like we don't know what's going on. And so it's very nice to have each of you guys come and share your experiences with us. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley. You're in the right place. We're glad you're here. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I know we're getting very close on time, and we want to be able to leave some time for Q&A from the audience. So maybe if we could just end or wrap up with from each of our guests with a piece of advice that you have. So from Randy's perspective, if there's one piece of advice you wish you had received before your first engineering internship, now in hindsight, that you could share with the group, that would be great.
So without going into the depth of my life, I will tell you that I had no concept that I could go to college, economically or otherwise. I mean, I just wasn't even in my space of believing I would ever have that opportunity until someone actually came to me and said, you know, do you realize you did good in school, you got out a year early from high school, and you're so poor, you know, you can go to school in those days. So I did not have a sense that I belonged anywhere but using my muscle to make money. And then when I went to school, I realized something very personal. And this is the message I give you all. You may have heard this before, but an education, putting those magical tools in your toolbox, is the greatest personal gift you can give to yourself. It is a personal gift you can give yourself. And when you have the gift of that, you can take care of yourself and then your family and then your community, I believe. And so, and never measure, I say this, never measure that first job that you're going to get, Rihanna or Luis or all of you, just only on how much money you make or the title that you have or how quick you get that job. You're going to measure it later by how you enrich your own family, your friends, the next generation, and your community, because you're giving yourself that great gift. And even being part of this and striving towards having the courage to look to something else. I say that because, you know, no matter who you are, getting on a plane for the first time or going to that first internship, I realize that. But it is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And I hope you continue doing that. And just know that there's many Randys out there that want to help, that want to see the next generation succeed so that the strength of this nation and our communities are better for everybody in that way. So thank you for the time to share that.
Thank you, Randy. And for Luis and Rihanna, same deal. What advice would you give a first-year student or you last year at this time who may not have that much experience under their belt for but they want an internship or considering an internship? Any advice that you could share?
Yeah, so my biggest advice, one little detail that I would give to myself is just to carry around like a notepad when you're at your internship, a pen, paper, write down everything that is said to you so you can remember it. I remember being in a meeting for a risk management meeting, and my supervisor just wanted me to kind of get the feel of how meetings are done. And after the meeting, I've been taking notes, and I actually summarized the meeting, and I sent it to him, and he was very impressed on that. And so, just besides that, I always carry around a pen and notepad and just write down everything that is being told to me. It shows that you're invested and that you care and that you want to take initiative, and that looks really good on them. And so, in return, they have the confidence to give you a little bit more work, a little bit more task, because it shows that you're actually being proactive and that you want to do really good in this internship. So just having that little piece like helped me a lot. It impressed all my supervisors, and it showed that that I really wanted to be here at this internship.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, Luis. I see full practitioners who are in the field who don't show up with anything to write with or a notepad. So as an intern, if you already caught on to that, you're already ahead of the game.
Definitely.
And Rihanna, any advice that you can share?
I would say that the point to like preparing yourself for an internship is not to drown yourself in knowledge so that you hopefully retain it and then hopefully you can spit it out on the field and complete something. But it's more just like getting like little pieces here and there, reaching out beyond what is given to you in the coursework for something that could like stick with you, something that's really interesting or something that's more convoluted that you can learn from. So I would say that in your first years of being an undergrad, a lot of it is just like exploring and copying what other people do and learning from other people for more experience, what their opinion is and what is their perspective. So I would definitely recommend like as a supplement to your coursework, especially if you're a CS major, to just like explore more in-depth knowledge that people will bring up as people who are established in industry or people who are related to a specific subfield. so they can sort of like just through osmosis gain the more domain specific vocabulary and knowledge that would definitely help you in your internship. Because I would say that definitely community college is helpful. It is good for establishing the background that you work on, but it does help to gain that more specific knowledge just to get ahead. And then you can definitely show off this, I guess, at your internship.
Thank you for that, Rihanna. Super, super helpful, and appreciate everybody humoring us with all of our questions and sitting through. I know that we only have a few minutes left, but I want to make sure we open it up for Q&A from the audience as well. So if you have a burning question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat, and up to you, but we'll give a second to do that. I will also, while we're waiting for a question to come in, I am going to throw into the chat asking each of you to complete a feedback survey just while we're going through questions. Just on your thoughts, it'll take 3 minutes. Your thoughts on today's session as well, just as we're wrapping up. So I'm going to copy that into the chat while we do our Q&A. And also, yeah, you can scan the QR code. Thank you, Myra.
Mm-hmm.
Can I answer a question that's already in the chat?
Yeah,
Please,
go for
yes.
it.
About, yeah, so it's saying, when is the best moment for a computer science major to find an internship in college, even if he has no knowledge or once at university? I would definitely say in community college rather than university, because if you already have this early experience at an internship, that could definitely help you develop more of the soft and hard skills that you can use at your university. When you're in a larger pool of applicants, you can use that to differentiate yourself. Because I think that doing an internship at university is a tad late, just in terms of competition, because you're competing with people who have already been there and have been using the large resources that the university has offered them, like clubs.
Mhm.
Especially because you get to collaborate with other people, see different projects and work on projects. So, but in community college, when you're doing an internship, obviously employers will know about your background, right? They will know that you're a community college student, and they will approach that from that angle, where they will definitely seek to just understand what type of person you are and train you based on that. So definitely start as early as you can, I think.
Thank you, Rihanna. I also, the first part of William's question was asking where to find an internship. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great resource. If there are specific companies that you're interested in, that's always a great way to be able to follow them on LinkedIn or to go on their website. And there's literally like always postings for most in terms of internships. The other thing is that through our STEM Core program, we will be opening our internship application process on October 28th. So more information will be coming out about that in the next couple of weeks. But we do, both Luis and Rihanna did the same thing. We have a general application for all STEM Core students who are interested in an intern through our program. First round, you submit your application, which includes your STEM resume, and a general application so we can learn a little bit more about you. Students come in for a first round interview with our growth sector staff. We interview everybody who applies just to give you practice and feedback. And then selected students are moved on to round 2, which is with a Randy, a mentor, or Charles. It just depends on where the employer that you're being connected with. So more information will be coming out about that in the next couple of weeks, but this is a great time to be working on your STEM resumes because internship season is pretty much almost now. So we're excited for that, to move forward with that. All right, questions. I see Julie asked earlier, I think this was maybe when Luis was speaking, but are you considering becoming a regular employee in the future? If so, how would you go about in transitioning to that? If, yeah, maybe Luis, Rihanna, if you would talk about if you would consider or if you're thinking about continuing on with your internship site or moving on.
Yeah, definitely. Caltrans offers like a year-round student assistant position that's definitely available. They have a few openings, and I know Cheryl and I we talked about it. Uh, I might apply for it. Just given like my schedule right now, I have a lot going on. But regarding like full time, yeah, definitely my supervisor. He mentioned, once I graduate, he gave me his contact information. Hey, give me a call. You got a spot right here for you. So, like I said, those little details that I did coming in early, notepad, all those little things like impressed him so much that like the technical work wasn't that much of a big deal breaker. It was more so like being able to be open to learn. And so he did offer, hey, give me a call when you graduate, we'll be waiting for you right here. So yeah, definitely just making sure I get this degree, and I would definitely reapply at or apply at Caltrans for a permanent position.
Awesome. Thanks, Luis. I see a question that just popped up, and this will probably be our last one. They said, as someone who's pretty introverted, interns, did you ever experience any social anxiety when you first joined your internship? How did you overcome it?
It's okay if I can share first because I need to leave very soon because yeah. So just to talk about like continue on, I am continuing on with NREL as a remote intern, and I'm planning to stay long term annually with them, maybe until the end of my undergrad. So I would say that NREL helped me align my career goals, and that my time there was greatly beneficial just in determining my future, what I would like to do. So in terms of social anxiety, I would say that it doesn't really matter as like who you are as a person in like very short first interactions, right? What really matters is just what you immediately show on yourself. If you're smiling, if you seem interested in what they're saying, if you're like engaging and you're curious, you're asking them interesting questions that are actually valuable and that you can derive value from them. So it doesn't really make sense to just like focus on yourself in those moments. And I think that you really shouldn't. What they will focus on is just simply your body language and your words. So I'll rather have you focus on that versus like, okay, who am I? What am I doing here? Those like existential questions, they're not really relevant. So just stay calm and try to have fun with the person you're talking to.
Hey, Cheryl,
Yes, Randy.
I'd like to try to answer that question from an employer perspective. Is it okay?
Yes, please.
So everything Rihanna said is on that is from the student perspective, yes. From an employer perspective, I want you to know many of the large companies, I don't know all, but many of the large companies have what's called affinity groups. Affinity groups or employee resource groups. And they are focused on, like one company where I work at, we have American Indian, we have African American, we have Amigos Unidos, we have LGBTQ, we have women in science or women's associations. So there's affinity groups where you can also, they're very welcoming to join those groups. And that the affinity groups aren't just for those areas. There's affinity groups in social things, everything from skiing to bike riding to crochet and chess and all kind of areas. So there's that avenue of helping taking the edge off or finding other people. Now, also some of the larger companies like where I'm at, we have our own medical staff on site, our own counselors to help people that are, new to the area, new to this, new to that. So there's those kinds of opportunity. Most companies like where I work, again, I have a library on site where we can also help people with counseling, sort of what color is your parachute, so you can go. And then if you're worried, if anxiety is around, boy, I'm working to get this degree, and how am I ever going to advance if I don't stay in school? Well, many of the big companies, I don't know about Caltrans or others, but you have, once you start working there, but I certainly know for Rihanna, they do have educational assistance to help you get that next degree. I know at Lawrence Livermore, I'm the student policy committee chair, so people come in and they may get that associate, and then we're going to help pay for their bachelor's or master's or doctorate degree should they want to go that far. We're going to help significantly. And that takes some of the edge off of that worry as well. But many of the employers do know about those and want to make an environment, because it's very important to have a safe work environment for everybody. Thank you, Cheryl.
Awesome. Super helpful, Randy and Luis, Rihanna, Charles, who had to leave. I know that we're right over time, but I think you guys can see now why we scheduled this for 90 minutes, because there's just like so much content to get through, but just like such rich information. So huge thank you to our panelists for participating. I learned something every time when I hear from our interns, especially hearing from you, Randy, with always like so much information. For our attendees today, we just wanted to make sure, in addition to the feedback survey that we asked you to complete, STEM Core and Growth Sector is all over social media, and we would love you all to connect with us. We have an Instagram page, a LinkedIn channel, so please tune into that. There's a STEM Core channel where we post all the recordings from all of the sessions, so I will be emailing everybody right after this who attended today the link, and so that you have the channel. And we also have a STEM Core podcast. So that's a great way to hear. Randy's been on our podcast before, but it's a great way to hear from practitioners across the network and partners who are advocating for students and dropping like some really great knowledge. So please check us out as well. Appreciate you all taking 90 minutes on a Friday to hang out with us. So hopefully this was informative. Let us know on the feedback survey, any feedback that you have, we'd love to hear it. And appreciate you all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.